Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Comics. This is episode number 25. And those that are listening on podcasts and anywhere else, thank you for being here and welcome. We have a very, very, very special guest here with us today, I should say, and with you. I'm Technique. Your host and co-host here is Matt Nighthawk Plays, and our guest is none other than Marc Thompson. Marc, welcome to the comics. I am overly excited, but before I get into all that fanboy stuff, I'm not going to be too bad, I promise. Feel free to tell everyone who you are and what you do.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, thanks for having me. I am Marc Thompson. I'm primarily a voice actor. I'm an actor, but I find most of my work in voiceover. So I do a lot of cartoons. I'm on shows like Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh! There's a new one that's on right now on Netflix called Karma's World that I'm on that Ludacris created. So a bunch of different shows. I'm in Transformers Cyberverse and a bunch of other ones. And then I do a lot of audiobook narration, and I primarily do a lot of Star Wars audiobook narration, which is a dream come true for me because I'm a lifelong Star Wars fan. So, and then whatever else my agent can get me, commercials and plays or whatever I can get my hands on.
Yeah, you spoke to Tim and Kevin a couple of weeks ago for Star Wars and Scotch.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yes. Good times, right?
Yeah, it was very fun.
All right, we got to do better, Frank. All right, ready, go.
Hey,
No pressure.
We're all part of the family.
Marc, yeah. We last episode we kind of went off script and dug into Star Wars, and if you get me going, I get going.
All right.
I'm a big fan of especially Old Republic stuff. I like the Sith side because it's it's just that stuff, that dark area where people are kind of afraid to dig into because they automatically think evil and good, and all that stuff. And but it's just a pleasure to have you here. Now, I want to say voice acting is something that everyone is trying to get into, especially with the time we live in, especially with COVID. Yeah. You have like big stars like Dwayne Johnson and other people just jumping into the platform.
Right.
Is it like, I know that the good answer is yes, everybody welcome, but does that put a little pressure on you to step up the bar, or are you just like, I got this?
It's one of the debates in the industry. I mean, I think obviously, celebrities are celebrities because they're good at what they do,
right?
And they wouldn't have a great following unless they were super talented. So it obviously makes it more difficult for people that aren't as well known to maybe get work when the people that are kind of a natural draw, get some of those jobs. So, but a lot of the work that I do is kind of like the kind of character voices, or so like I usually get hired if they need somebody, they want to save some money and they want one guy to do 4 or 5 different characters. so that I feel like I'm still able to kind of find work doing that type of thing, because I generally don't get hired just for my natural speaking voice. I get hired to do a bunch of like weird and wacky people, and I'm kind of the budget ancillary guy that you can do that stuff. So
the dream, I want to say. That's
man.
Yeah. No, it is fun because like I like being able to play a range of characters and not kind of just be pigeonholed as one thing. So that part is awesome. Like I really do like being able to kind of do a wide variety of characters.
Amazing.
When you record, are you because I've heard multiple different versions from different voice actors, when you get into it and you have like 4 or 5 roles and in their same scene, do you go back and forth between? Do you read one straight through? What's your method? Because like I try to do, like I'm nowhere near where you guys are. Like I try to go back and forth between voices. I'm like, if I was doing this, I'd be fired day one. Hence why you're a pro.
It depends on the medium. If it's animation, we'll generally do one character all the way through, and then you start at the top of the episode and do the other character all the way through.
Okay.
If it's audiobooks, I guess everybody does it differently, but most of the audiobooks I've worked on, you're bouncing back and forth as you go, and you're kind of talking to yourself as you go. Because if you did it character by character for an audiobook, it would be a nightmare on the editor, because there's sometimes between 60 and 100 different characters in an audiobook, and it would just be too hard to kind of get each line of dialogue.
They really love their job.
Yeah. They already hate me as is, so make a lot of mistakes. So
Oh my goodness. So if you guys don't know, Marc is so for me, I discovered from Thrawn, and I told you guys read the books or at least listen to them. Just listen to them audible. It's a great place to do it. Did you do every character in that series, or like how did that work? Because those voices were like really good.
Oh, thanks, dude. Yeah, for the Thrawn ones, I'm doing everybody in there. So there are a couple of the audio dramas that we've done that are multicast, like Dr. Afro was multicast, Tempest Runner was multicast, Dooku Jedi Lost was multicast, but all the Thrawn ones I've done are just me. So
get out of here.
Jeez, man. That's insane.
Matt,
That's
you have
awesome.
to listen to it, dude. I don't know. Your women voices are like super good. And,
all right.
Like, Thrawn's voice was definitely an inspiration for one of my characters I had to do.
Oh, awesome.
I was just like, oh my God, this guy is awesome. This character's so awesome. Like, he sold me on this character. Oh man. Is there any way we can bother you for a sample?
Oh yeah.
We're
This is Grand Admiral Mithron Eurodo. May warrior's fortune smile on your favors.
Bro, that's my night. My birthday is on Sunday, and that was a birthday gift, so I appreciate that.
cutting it and ripping it for your ringtones. Don't worry about
it.
So awesome.
That's
Oh, my
awesome.
goodness.
Are you so it's actually funny that we've had a little bit of back to back. We just interviewed Scott Snyder like 2 weeks ago, a New York boy, lives on Long Island. He's like my neighbor essentially. And you're from the Bronx, right?
So my IMDb is incorrect. IMDb is a liar.
Turn it down. No.
The problem is I have to pay money to go on
No,
IMDb
yeah.
to fix it, and
Yeah.
I refuse to do that. So like,
I don't understand it. I
it's
have
ridiculous.
I
Yeah, and
got-
it
we
also
all got
says
one,
I was
yeah.
born in '70, which makes me a lot older than I actually am. So, but yeah, so most of it's correct, but that is incorrect. I'm not in the Bronx, and I wasn't on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air either. I think it's like I was on.
I was gonna say, I was looking through,
Yeah.
like I knew, I was like, wait a second.
yeah.
Give me those credits.
But no, I originally from Rochester, New York, or
okay, New York,
Webster,
still
yeah.
New York.
Yeah, still
so-
New York.
We're all New York born
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
from Brooklyn, so this is
Oh
great.
no way!
Yeah, Just moved down to the south. Thanks, parents.
Yeah,
Oh,
I live in Chelsea now, so
Oh
there
yeah,
we
so
go.
like I'm still on
Yeah.
Long Island. That's awesome to know. I used to go to Chelsea. I used to work in the city forever. It's so crazy how big of an industry this is.
Yeah.
Yet you always think people. It's always LA. It's LA. It's LA. Whether
Right.
whether it's acting, whether it's voice actor or anything like that. But it's New York. It's Long Island now. It's Atlanta now, right? So it's crazy how
New
big it
Hollywood.
is, but it's also very small in the sense of like location basis too.
yeah. No, that's very
Oh.
cool.
All right, so I have to ask if there was any. Normally, I save this question for the end, but this is just too fun. If you had a perfect,
Sorry, my
oh,
dog
okay,
is freaking out.
that's a
Little
fur baby.
woofums.
I understand.
Yeah.
Fur baby's like, don't ask that question.
Oh man. I just
Sorry
noticed
about
the
that.
Halo.
No,
It's
you're
it's
fine.
not on camera. I just noticed how you have the Halo placards kind of over
Oh,
over
yeah.
your right shoulder. Yeah.
This is my
a-
son's room.
No.
I had to.
I was gonna say you have bunk beds in your room. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's like it's every day's camp in my house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah, if there was any role that like you have played or you got coming up, what would be your favorite, or what would be your dream role of character play, or
Oh,
voiceover,
wow.
acting, anything?
I mean, so like my dream of dreams would be to be a Jedi in a live action Star Wars show, or and then my second dream after that would to be a featured character in a Star Wars show, like a cartoon, or like a Jedi first and foremost, but anything else is great. I got to do a character on the Star Wars Visions dub. I did the drummer in the episode about the Tatooine Rhapsody, so that was a dream come
Oh,
true.
yeah.
So yeah. So, but that would be the thing that I would pray and hope for, is like to be wielding a lightsaber on film would be really cool.
Well, we have it. You never know who we might know.
That's right. Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt.
Yeah. Well, when you started getting into acting, when you started getting into voice acting, or I guess better yet is when did you know? Like we all like growing up, like I have kids now, you know, you have kids, we're thinking, okay, what are they going to be when they grow up? Like when I was in high school, I wanted to be one thing and now I'm something completely different. So like when were you going through the process saying this is what I'm going to do and this is what I can do and I you know, I'm going to make it?
Yeah. Well, I knew pretty early on that I wanted to be a performer. Like, my mom was really supportive and like kind of,
that's great.
She was the super mom that would like sign me up for acting classes and improv classes when I was like in junior high school, you know, and like would drive me everywhere and wait, you know, after all my plays and everything. And so she really created an environment that made me believe that I could do this and kind of provided me with classes and opportunities to really get skills and to do it.
Awesome.
And then I had great teachers in high school that also fostered it. Like you know, one of the moments was in junior high. You know, I'm not athletic. I'm not like some brainiac, super smart person, but in junior high, I got cast in this show called The Wolf Boy, the Ghost and the Light of the Moon, and Mr. Putnam wrote it, and and it was like the first time I was like in it, like, you know, I was in plays before that where you're like the stalagmite or stalactite, you're the tree, or, you know, exactly,
I was a wall.
But that was the first one where I like had to like really memorize lines and sing songs, and that kind of like gave me, you know, the itch of like, ooh, I really like this, and this was really fun, and people said I was good at this, and then through high school, I got to do the plays and speech and debate team and all that, and had like Mrs. Hofstetter and Miss Ham were great teachers and really showed me a lot. And then I think I decided I wanted to pursue acting, and my dad was like trying to be a good father and like kind of like say, you know, you should really get a degree in business, and then if it doesn't work out, you know, and then you can pursue acting, but if it doesn't work out, you'll have a degree where you can actually get work, you know. And I in retrospect, I see that he was trying to protect me, and you know, but at the time I was like, you don't believe in my dream, you know. So like,
rebel.
Yeah, but then it was weird because my mom, they both worked at Kodak, and my mom, after, you know, what was it, 15, 20 years working for the company, got laid off. And it kind of made her realize that there is no safe job anymore. Like there is no like safe career path. You never know what's going to happen. So you might as well pursue something that you really want to do. So she kind of helped me talk my dad into it. And then they allowed me to study it in college. And so I went there, and my sophomore year, I believe, I tried out for a cartoon at MTV. And it was a vampire cartoon that never got into production, but I auditioned for that one. And it was like a weird thing where you leave a voicemail on someone's answering machine.
Oh my God.
It was just like, before the internet in the old days. I had to like do that. And I think I did something like, you know, hello, I'd like to be on your cartoon. And I was like doing this Igor voice, but that got me in the door. And then I didn't get that one, but they were casting this other one called Daria, which was a spinoff of this show called Beavis and Butthead.
I remember Daria.
I remember Daria.
Okay. So that was like my first ever big break, first ever job where someone paid me money to do something acting related. And
Thank
then
you,
it kind of
MTV.
just, yeah, exactly. So it kind of snowballed from there. So that was probably the big moment where it was like, maybe I could actually do this, you know. And that definitely opened the door for all the voiceover stuff I've done since then. So very grateful to Daria.
That's amazing. Yeah. It's a journey. You got to start somewhere, and you saw it back in like junior high when you were in school. You had a supportive family. Your dad wanted you to be it, but also had that backup too. But no, that's awesome, because you know, you hear all these stories, and they're all unique, but they have like little pieces that are the same. But that's amazing that you, like from go, essentially, it's like, yeah, this is it, and that's truly amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Being an audience out there, classes are available everywhere, but the number one thing that's kind of interesting, because Mark, you have that perfect story of like being able to do voices and stuff. And a lot of people get into voice acting thinking that's what it mainly is, you know? So that's what I did when I first got in, and they were like, you do great voices, but you got to hone your own voice. So going into all those commercial classes where they tell you to have your own voice and like put your own style in it, and this is what pays, blah, blah, blah. Then you can branch out. It's a tree, get that whole thing. In directing, being directed is a big part of voice acting.
Yeah.
When you're doing these Audible books, let's just say like the Star Wars thing, this is a big franchise. It's just something that's like people hold dearly to them. When inflections and improv and all that stuff comes into play, how do you pace yourself? Because there's sometimes when I'm reading and I'm questioning in my head, I stumble a little bit and I'm like, God, that's another take. Like how do you prepare for that?
That's a great question. So like for the Star Wars audiobooks, I have a great director. It's Kevin Thompson, no relation, but he just happened to have the same name. And it's funny because we always talk about this, is that my character on Daria was named Kevin Thompson.
Oh my gosh.
And the first time we met, he was directing an animated show for MTV, and we were both recording at Sync Sound, and we met years before we ever met again during auditions for the Star Wars audiobooks. Anyway, it's just a weird cosmic, freaky. But so he's an awesome director. Like he's really good at, knowing that in this moment, it's going to be an action sequence and the stakes are going to be really high. And we want the pace to be, kind of pick up the pace to keep the action flowing and moving. And in this scene, it's much more, introspective, and we want to really slow down and really make sure they're absorbing the dialogue, and so he's really good at kind of nudging me and helping me figure out some of that stuff in the moment in the session. I have another friend, my friend Jay, who's a great director. He directed me in some plays, and he's a great actor himself. And we were talking about audiobooks one day, and kind of what Frank, you were saying about the stumbling stuff, and yes. he talked about that it's okay to slow down. Like it's okay because like sometimes I'm in such a rush to kind of get the words out or kind of be efficient or whatever. But he said sometimes if you just take a breath and just slow a little bit down, you can almost like read the next sentence while you're saying the current sentence, and it helps your brain be able to process it. But sometimes it's like I fall into the trap of kind of reading so fast that my brain can't process like what the proper emphasis is or where the emphasis should be in the sentence in order for it to make sense. And so it's I have to every once in a while just take a breath and just slow a little bit down. And honestly, that actually helps the listener sometimes too, because if it's too rushed, it's hard for them to process all the information as well. So taking a breath and just maybe just a half beat slower than what you might normally do, is a way to maybe prevent some of the stumbles. And then, a lot of times though, they're just unavoidable. Like I was joking around earlier, like that I give the editors a lot of work, because I stumble. And for the Star Wars ones, we don't do punch recording. We just go straight through, and the editor has to go back and figure out where the right take was. And they notate it on the script as we go. So I'm very fortunate to not have to do punch recording. I know I've done punch recording a couple times, and it's too stressful because you're so concerned about not messing up that it takes away from the performance.
Time is money, opinion. Tape is money. Like,
exactly. Yeah.
Well, not so much tape anymore, but
hard drives.
When
when you're going through, like you said, what was that called? When you were going straight through, not punch?
I just call it straight recording. I'm not sure what the editors call it, but yeah.
So when you go through straight recording, how is it as far as like takes? Because I'm like thinking of how you do it like on like movie sets and TVs. How is it like? Do you run through? Does your director say, "All right, go," and then you pause, you stop, and then go back like a couple of times,
then do voices and narrate more?
I guess like if you have a monologue or something like that, or a couple of sentences you have to say, like you said, is it go through, you go back, you go through, go back, and said, okay, I'm done? Like, how does that work exactly? Are you being directed for it, or is it like all you for these audiobooks?
I mean, it's the way we do it is I'm just reading straight through, and switching between the voices and kind of going straight through. And then if I fumble, I'll just go back and jump a paragraph back and read it again. And the editor and the director are making like hash marks on the script, and like if there's like one sentence that like I get really tripped up on, they might have like 3 or 4 hash marks on this one sentence, and then they'll somehow notate that the 4th one was the one where I got it right. Or
that's
or
cool.
sometimes it's like they might circle the second one, just like that was the take that I prefer, we're going to use that take, or so they're making notations as I'm reading, and for the most part I'm given free reign. But a lot of times, again, Kevin will say, you know what, I think we can get that better. Let's do that section again. Let's back up, and I want to hit that again, or I don't feel like you got the sense of that, so let's go back. So, but most of the time, it's just like most of the time they're telling me to not go back, because it's like Kevin will say, like, you had it on the first time, shut up and go, like don't say that sentence ever again.
Yeah.
Like a lot, because the perfectionist in me wants it to be like exactly right, but it's like we've got 500 pages to read, and we can't make if it's not that they're like, oh, it's fine, it's good enough, it's quality, they want it to be quality, but like sometimes I over obsess, and I think I can make it better when actually it really was really good 2 or 3 takes ago. But like my mind gets obsessive, and I, overanalyze things. So
it's your work, right? I mean, everyone does that. We always want to be perfectionists, and sometimes that just doesn't work.
Yeah. And sometimes it does get in the way of it being good, because then if you think about it too much, you lose the thread of the story, or you lose the flow of it, and sometimes if you like if I can get in the pocket, and if I could get in a good rhythm, it actually in the long run helps the story out. Whereas if I'm just obsessing over this one sentence, and like I didn't quite get that sentence, it's like, in a 10-hour production, no one's going to care about that one sentence. But if the overall rhythm of the story is much more important than this individual, moment. So
I got one follow-up with that. You keep on bringing up your friend Kevin, and it seems like with Star Wars, he kind of is the director for it. It seems like for Star Wars, is it seemingly him? And you brought up another friend, I'm sorry, I forgot the name, but like, do you always go in with the same director specifically for Star Wars? I guess with that, is it different with others, or is it always Kevin? Because having that friendship, the familiarity is, I guess, you run off of each other and makes things easier, sometimes harder, as you said.
Yeah. I think, for me, it's always been Kevin. Like, he's been producing the Random House since before the episode 1 novelization. Like, so he's been at this for 20 or more years with Star Wars, and even longer than that with other audiobooks. So, awesome. So now I know that now Disney has been doing some other like young adult books under their publishing wing, and there's other people that produce those. So, I've not worked with any of those directors yet, but so for me personally, it's just been Kevin.
That's awesome.
And I think there's, the awesome thing about that is what you just said. Like he has so much experience in this now, and has worked on literally thousands of hours of Star Wars audio, that he'll say to me after a paragraph, I know exactly what music cue I'm going to use right there. Like I know exactly what sound effect, and I have a really cool idea for what we're going to do for that character filter, or he's just got this like library of knowledge and experience that he can draw upon. And he's just so good at it. Like the times, that I've gone back and listened to the stuff, it's like a movie in your mind. Is like the Star Wars books are so well produced, and so good. Not every audiobook is produced that well in terms of the background music and sound effects and the ambience. Yep. Like not everyone does that. So the fact that he and the audio engineer Paul Goodrich at Merlin Sound, the two of them will often stay up till like 1 a.m, putting everything together, and it's just they're artists. Like they're really amazing at it. So I feel very fortunate to work with them.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah, wizards,
That's kind of funny how you brought that up, because that was exactly what I was going to go into. Is like, being an artist in general, I can't stand the sound of my own voice. I think a lot of us like that, but everyone else is just like, oh my God, right? So same thing with acting. We go through, a lot of people, it's funny how I explain this to people. I say, when you're acting, you don't do the movie from top to finish. Sometimes you do like the last scene first, and you don't know what is going on half the time. You're looking at green screens half the time, and then you go see it and you're like, wow, you're like blown away just like everybody else.
Yeah.
They're looking at you like, what? when it comes to the books, do you go back and listen to the books from start to finish and hear all the production being put together? And if so, how do you feel? Do you go at the line or anything like that?
That's the one.
Right. So with the books, I don't listen to them start to finish, mainly just for time, because they're like 8 or 10 hours, and I don't drive. I live in Manhattan, so I guess I could put it on while I'm walking, but then it feels really narcissistic or something.
It's really good. I can tell you.
Like by the time I've recorded it, like I've read it like 2 or 3 times, because I had to read it once to get the flow of the story, and then I have to go back and get the character voices, and then obviously we're recording it to but what I do is I'll go back and listen in order to get character references for the next books, because a lot of times the characters will carry over into the sequels and stuff. So that's where I get to really hear like what they did, and that's where I'm like, oh, this is so good, and usually I'm not too hypercritical of my performance, because the music and the sound effects add so much that it's kind of like what you were saying with the green screen stuff. It's like my focus is more on, oh, that's so cool how that ship passed over from the right speaker to the left speaker, and you're like, oh, so like usually I'm more focused on that stuff when I'm finding the references. Every once in a while I'm like, oh, I wish I had done that a little differently, or but or I wish they would have used that take, or but for the most part, I'm more the music and the other stuff makes me sound much better than I am. So
magic. It was magic.
Again, guys, if you haven't listened, Matt, you got to go back and hear it, because he's right. The atmosphere is all there. Like if they're on the Tatooine or whatever, and it's like a desert planet, you can hear the wind blowing in the background. And if there's if there's a saber fight, or there's been plenty ship fights that Thrawn was on. It's just the noise in the background, the voice, and him going back and forth. There's times, Mark, I sat there, I was like, there's no way that's him. Like there's no way. You go from Thrawn to, what was the captain's name, that his apprentice?
In the originals, it's Pelion, and then is it Eli Vanto? And
yes, Vanto.
Yeah.
Love the changes are so drastic, and I'm just like, I gotta get better. What is going on? Like, I quit, because I was like, when I heard you were coming on the show, I was like, I have to ask him if he's doing both. There's no way he's doing that, and then do like a woman's voice that's like really good and evil sound. I was just, man, so good. You have to
thanks a lot. I really, really appreciate it.
Oh, no problem.
No, I do love reading, and my wife is a big advocate of it. She's a principal. She used to be in a librarian. She loves reading, and opposites attract. And I remember, like, I talked to her about audiobooks because I love listening. I'm big into music, obviously, video games, movies, TV, the whole 9 yards. And I'm like, what is so different about audiobooks comparing you and like we have like bookshelves on bookshelves over here, obviously. And she goes, it brings you in. I still remember, I'm calling her out on this one. She was big into the Hunger Games series when it first came out, and she got the books, she read them, and I was like, how is she? Like, good, like nothing crazy. And I remember her on the last book. I remember in this office, I remember walking in and she's listening to it. She's a blanket over her head. And I'm like, honey, and she just turns around just bawling. I'm like, what is happening? And she's like, it's different. It's just completely different. And I'm like, it hit me. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like this, I have to get into it. And I was just, since then I've been trying. I've gotten a little bit here and there, but Frank has been pushing me to get into it. And these series are going to be definitely the first, because obviously I'm a big Star Wars fan as well. And with that, because of the emotion with my wife, I got to ask this question. You've been doing this for 20 plus years, give or take, right? And amazing roles from Star Wars to Daria to anything and everything in between. When you were going through the scripts and going in the studio, when you read that one line or that monologue, which one was it? I'm sure there's more than one, but which one was it where it's like, oh my God, I get to do this? Like, what was that one? I know you've had many, I know, but what is that one?
Wow. Yeah, that's a great question.
I know. I'm
there's definitely
sorry.
been many.
I have to ask.
Well, okay. The one that's popping in my head is I got to do the novelization for The Force Awakens.
Oh.
And so that one, they decided they wanted to release the audiobook and book the same day as the movie came out. So we actually recorded that one, I believe in like October or November. It was October. So it was like 2 months before the movie came out. And it was this big, like, you know, it was this huge thing for me because Kevin called me and he was like, so listen, I'm going to ask you something, but I need to know like if you actually want to do this, because I know how important it is for you to see these films in the theater. And he was like, you know, if I were to offer you this, would you want it? And I had to think about it. I was like,
man.
well, actually, because I was like, well, wait, if I read the book, I'm going to get spoiled. Like, I'm not going to get to like experience it for the first time in the theater. And I was kind of telling my wife, it's like, should I do this? Because I've been looking forward to this for years and I've been wanting to see how this story ends. And she kind of looked at me and was like, of course you should do it. Like, what's wrong with you? Like, why would you not?
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, oh, right. Because she was like, if you were cast in the film, wouldn't you say yes to being cast in the film?
True.
Like,
Very true. Very true.
like,
Good job, wife.
But it was very weird. Like, so like reading it, I had to go. Normally they would just send me the script, but for this one, the security was so tight. I had to go to Penguin Random House offices, and they had a little room where they disconnected the computer and the internet from that computer, so nothing could be sent electronically out.
Yeah.
They locked me in the room. If I wanted to go to the bathroom, they had to unlock me, escort me to the bathroom, lock the door behind me so no one could like look at the script or whatever. And I read, you know, spoiler alert, but I read when Kylo killed Han.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was like I was welling up with tears, and I'm like sitting in the office by myself. And it was this weird. That was a big moment that it was a holy cow, I get to do this, but it was also like, oh my gosh, I have to do this. Like, how am I gonna do justice to this? How am I gonna, because I hadn't seen the film at that point, and so that was a pretty big moment. Oof. But and there's been, like you said, like many other ones. Like anytime I get to do Yoda is a huge deal for me because I'm a huge Yoda fan, and the first ever. I think just the first job I got, the Legacy of the Force series, I'd never done an audiobook before. And to get to do like Luke and Han and Leia, like that was a huge deal for me. And I was like, I was just totally blown away that I got to do just even that first series. And I thought that would be just a one-off, and it's turned into like, like many, like
something that's not a one-off.
Yeah. So
that's truly amazing.
When I go in and I read stuff, and sometimes you don't get to pick. You sit there, you'll do a million different voices, and they'll be like this one, and you're just like, that's not the one I wanted, but okay. How does it go? What's the process of you picking voices for each character? And if you tell the audience, how hard is it to remember how to hit those inflections just right every book when you have giant gaps in between?
Yeah. No, it's definitely, that's the most time consuming part of it is, like I'm preparing one right now, and it's like, I'm like going through old references of like, previous books. And then, I'm looking at other books that I didn't narrate where that character appears and trying to find their references. And like, if they've appeared in, if I have a book where there's a character that appeared in one of the films or the Clone Wars episodes or Rebels, or I try to hop on YouTube and find those references. And so it's a lot of kind of researchy type work, which is fine because I'm a Star Wars fan. So it's not like, oh, I have to watch Star Wars for me. But for me, what I do is I will kind of record little snippets of those references or ideas of I think I want to do this for this voice. And then when I get in the booth, I will like really quick listen to a short snippet of that to kind of get it in my head. And then I jump back in and start recording. But a lot of times it's like a lot of, like I always say, like the first couple of days, it's a lot of stopping and starting and kind of listening to that sample again. But then around day 3, you start to get in that rhythm and you start to get in that flow and you start to kind of know them well enough that you don't have to keep referring to the sample. You can just start to kind of, know that, okay, this is what this person sounds like, and some of it you find through doing it. Like after doing that character for a couple chapters, you find nuances that you didn't have even when you created the sample. So you kind of are getting to know them in the process of performing it.
Awesome. It's so awesome.
When what man, how do I when you've been, obviously once again you've been doing this while, what was the longest recording like stint you had with one book or series or show? Like obviously you think of a book, it's 300, 400, 500 pages, you get through with it, but whether it's going back or back and forth, like what was the longest?
I don't know if I'm allowed to say.
Oh,
it was,
okay.
It was just a couple months ago, and it was 3 books that we actually recorded back to back to back.
Oh wow.
So it was like a 2-week record. So that was crazy, but I don't know if it's a surprise, and I don't know if it's okay. I don't know if it's been released yet, so I don't
okay.
Do you prefer that actually? Do you like because it's back to back to back? So I can think of like Lord of the Rings, right? You're getting through, you're recording and going through the next one or something like that. Do you prefer if there's like a series out there that you're gonna do to just go boom, 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 or do you want to go in, pop out, or it's once again it's kind of depending on timing or what it is.
I guess the honest answer is I prefer a break, just because I feel pretty drained after doing one book, and there's a lot of prep work that goes into it. So it's definitely pretty taxing to do back to back to back.
Yeah, so no, it makes sense. Yeah, so you're doing many characters, you're doing the narration. It's a toll.
Yeah, but I mean, I imagine for continuity and storytelling, it probably maybe serves it better to do them right in a row because everything's fresh in your mind. But just physically, it can be challenging.
Doing takes for shows and stuff, it could be like, I don't know, a 3-hour, 4-hour take, and I am out. It is direct. It's the mental. Yeah. Okay, so let's do some fun. This is a fun question. Obviously, you're a big fan of Jedi. If there was a story that you wanted to tell personally, you don't have to say if this is already in production, please, make sure you be careful. What would be the story that you would want to concentrate on? It could be something that hasn't been told yet.
Ooh. I have like a rough idea for a story that I'm probably too lazy to try to actually do anything with. But like, I think it would be I think it would be interesting to try to explore how you go from a period of time where the Jedi are seemingly widely known and widely experienced and widely accepted to then get to the point where Rey's saying things like, the Jedi are real, like they were, you kind of like they just become like legend. And I have this idea of like a charlatan or a con artist that is like going around pretending to be a Jedi, but he's just swindling people. And it's almost like the actions of him and other people like that are kind of tainting the reputation of the Jedi and who they were. And then like I have an idea of like maybe like a dark side user who's also doing that, but he's doing it to like make people think the Jedi don't exist, but he knows the Force is real, but he's doing it to kind of so I'm still fleshing ideas out, whatever. But like, and then I think there's like maybe a Force sensitive person that maybe wants to be a Jedi but doesn't have anyone to show them, and then or they might get bitter and start to doubt that the Force is real, because if the Force is real, then why would the Empire exist? Why would the Force allow such darkness to dominate if there's such a thing as a Force that's like bringing balance to the galaxy? Like why would all this evil be allowed to exist? So like it's that type of thing. But I'm not really a good writer. Like I could come up with ideas, but then like I have so much admiration for the authors because they what they're able to do in terms of dialogue and get inside the characters' heads and structure. It's like, it takes me so long to get a page worth of material. I authors are amazing to me. So
they are magicians for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for the answer. That's always fun to hear.
Yeah.
Because just to piggyback off that real quick, Matt, like we've had this conversation last episode, and I was just like, there's so much out there. Like, you have the Old Republic, and there's this big gap.
I was just
right
gonna go
there.
with this too.
And, it's like the Dark Sisters, and like the whole thing about that and the planet. And I was telling about Vitiate and all that stuff. I was like, dude, there's Jedi out there. Everyone's like screaming about Revan this, Revan that. I was like, you got to know the real bads, like the real boys. And I explained about, Bane and all that stuff. And I read those books, and those were incredible. But I just feel like there is a giant gap there. I think you're right. There's something to explore right inside that area between then and now that's there. And I know High Republic is there, but still, it'd just be really nice. I think your idea is great because in the scheme of things, it's still dark and light and gray, and all that stuff is still there. So good answers. Thank you.
I guess with that though, because we were talking about this, Star Wars has been around for a very long time, right? It's in our hearts, and recently some of the discussions that came out was after Mando, with spoiler alert, Luke coming in. Everyone was like, not everyone. There was a distinct section saying yes, and a distinct section saying no. I understand, but wanted something else. We have a lot of things coming down the plate for Marvel, and of course Star Wars as well. Whether it's Disney Plus or obviously there's other films in works right now. Are you in the area of I'm okay still being in the Skywalker camp, or do you want to move past it and see what is in the galaxies far, far away? Or I guess the other part of it too is if it is within the Skywalker, like Mando was for a long time, just keeping it out and just keep on going with these different stories. I guess that's kind of like two different questions.
Yeah. I mean, I was definitely in the camp of yes, Luke Skywalker, woohoo. So I think I don't know, because so Mando really surprised me. Like I did not expect to love Mando as much as I do.
I think that's
so
everybody.
Good.
Yeah,
so
good.
So
I think my natural instinct is I want to see Luke Skywalker, and I'm a child of that era. Like I grew up with the original trilogy, so there's a part of me that wants that nostalgia. Give me more. But then they've done such a great job surprising me with the new stuff that I'm definitely not opposed to it. Like so I guess my answer is both.
Okay.
But I'm not, but I've been shocked at like how well Mandalorian was done and how it felt like true to the spirit of Star Wars and still covering new ground. And, so if the new stuff can do that, and I feel like obviously I'm biased, but I love the High Republic books. Like I feel like the High Republic books are another example of new stuff that has captured the spirit of the old stuff, like that has captured the spirit of the Jedi and the conflict and in kind of the Star Wars universe. So I'm really enjoying the new stuff. So I have to say both, I guess.
I hope that's the case, right? Like Frank and I were talking about this last week too, and I don't remember if I said it or not. It felt like with Mando and finishing up with 7, 8, and 9, it was kind of like let's finish this. Let's do the easy thing when that's done, and then do Mando because it's in the universe. We could play around with different characters and do things with Ahsoka and a bunch of other characters. And now it seems like, okay, this is working. It's also working for Marvel as well. Let's do Acolytes. Let's do Squadron with Patty Jenkins. Let's do Bad Batch. This is like the first wave, and I'm interested. It's actually from recording this. It's this Friday on the 12th, Disney Plus Day. I'm interested to see if it's going to be the next wave where it's okay. Here's what else is out there, or we're doing these other crazier stories. Because as of right now, dark side wise, right, Sith, it's just Acolytes. I want to know what else they want to do. Like I'm very interested. This Friday's going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think we're gonna maybe. I don't know anything, but I think we might see Inquisitors in
Ooh.
the Obi-Wan series.
Yeah.
And which would be really cool. And then I think eventually, I do want more Rey and Finn and Poe. Like I want Finn to become a Jedi,
Yes.
or like and kind of I would love for him. I don't know if John Boyega is interested or not, but I really want to see him grow. And it was obviously he was Force sensitive or something. So like I want to
something was there,
happen, and I would love to see what comes next in that story as well. So
I'm right there with you. I think those characters have a place for sure, and I think that is the new wave. And it's funny how you brought John Boyega up, because there are rumors, of course, rumors all over the place, that he was supposed to be a little bit more than he was given.
Yeah.
Hopefully we get it. We know
really
he's got to be forced, and there's so much there.
Yeah.
But I think what's happening now is we're filling in those gaps. And there's a lot of gaps to be had, because there's a lot of like spinoffs and parallel universes and stuff like that avoided. Because even Luke Skywalker, like the disappearance, you're just like, okay, Luke, what point B? You were this ultimate galactic badass.
Yeah.
What have you been doing this whole time? On a planet, moving rocks. Okay, cool. But what's the real thing? And I love seeing, the one thing I'd like to see more is mistakes being made. Like Luke made big mistakes. I would like to see those. So I think that'd be great. So the question I have for you, Mark, and then I know we're pulling up on time right now. It's just been such a great interview so far.
Always goes quick, man.
Forever about this. Marvel, big. This is like huge right now. Comic books are exploding all over the place, more than we ever would imagine it be, because there was a time where comic books were kind of dwindling. Now with the cinemas and everything, Marvel's introducing a lot of Star Wars in their shows. Chewbacca's being placed here and there, and a lot of fights. We'll try to, light spoilers. A lot of fights. You see the universe pop up, and you're like, that's Star Wars. What is going on? How do you feel about that crossover? And they're in the same universe. Do you want to see more of that, or is it like fan servicey for you?
No, I love it. Yeah. Like, give me more. Yeah. And it's fun when it's like little Easter eggy stuff, it's cool. So like if we ever did like a proper crossover, it would have to be really like, if maybe like a Watcher thing or like a multiverse cross, if it's something like that, I would totally buy it. And but for now it's fun to have the little, references and Easter eggs, and I love it. So
the little tidbits here and there. Yeah, that was when I saw that in What If. I was like, oh, this is awesome. There's that little clip in there. With Star Wars, actually, you brought it up before, those in-betweens, and I was thinking of between episode 3 and episode 4, how there was kind of that little discussion too of what's going on with the Jedis, Force sensitive Sith, and then obviously from Rey's saying between 6 and 7, there's Jedi Fallen Order came out. Is that, before I go to the question, that was between both of them, right? Frank, do you remember?
Jedi Fallen Order was it was either after the Clone Wars or before the Clone Wars. It was somewhere in there.
It's after Order
right, because Jedi were
like he's being hunted down,
right, and he was the last one, on the say, quote unquote.
We've had a lot.
There's always
now,
another one somewhere else hiding. Where Ahsoka, she was a mechanic for a while, going through that story. That was a good one. But yeah, go ahead.
Vader's everywhere. Actually, now that I'm thinking of it, from what we talked about before. What was my question? I just completely lost track. I apologize.
Jedi Fallen Order.
Yeah, Jedi Fallen Order. There's so many different mediums right now. Obviously, what you're in with books and other voice areas. Obviously, comics as well. We're getting big again. Vader's getting a lot of series. We got their holiday 40-page one shot that's coming out for Star Wars. It's we talked about it the other day.
It's the day in life.
Life Day. Yeah, it's a 40-day, I think, one shot that comes out December 29th, I believe.
It's interesting because it's not Jedi versus Sith and nothing like that. It's just like the life in the world of Star Wars, and like you could be. I think Han Solo and Chewbacca's trying to teach Han Solo how it is to live in the world and not just be an adventurer. It's a really interesting take Anyway, go ahead, Mac.
You know, canon is everywhere right now, and obviously a couple of years ago, probably more than a couple of years ago now, right? Obviously that it was turned on its head. This is canon. This isn't.
Right.
How do you see it right now moving forward with these different mediums as far as storytelling? And like what you said, you know, I want to hear more about it. Oh yeah, there's that video game. Like how is that process for a Star Wars, a massive Star Wars fan like yourself? Like how is it absorbing all of that that's out there?
It's a lot of pressure, right? I mean, it's a lot.
You don't want to miss anything.
To consume, yeah.
Especially for you.
Yeah.
You're like, I heard what you said in that book.
right. Yeah, I mean, it's like in one sense, it's like an embarrassment of riches, and like, wow, you know, like it's. I at one point I had to kind of stop trying. I think when they first announced canon, like this is canon and this is Legends, I was like, okay, I'm gonna really stick with everything canon now, so I'm up to date on everything. And then it just it outpaced me and I couldn't keep up anymore. So I think what's fun about it now is like you can go back and discover things that were written 2-3 years ago and be like, oh no way, you know, or like you can like I recently, to prepare for some of the Doc Aphra audio, I kind of discovered Doc Aphra, even though she's been out for a while. I was like, oh, this character is awesome, you know, and like, so I think there's so much out there that it's like there's something for everybody. Like, you know, I've read some of the comics, but not all the comics, and there's some great storylines of the comics, and the novels are really amazing, and the video games, and then you've got even like the Lego stuff, and you know, so that there's really something for everybody. And if there's I think, you know, I think generally people will gravitate towards the thing that they're really into, but then you can kind of like discover this other stuff and even go backwards. And it's fun to kind of rediscover that. And they do a great job of like even crossing over some of that stuff so that you kind of like piques your curiosity of like, I want to find out more about that story that they mentioned in this story. And, you know, so I think it's fun, and it's you know, I remember when Heir of the Empire first came out, and that was the first anything since after Jedi, and like, you know, I you know, bought that book and was so excited to read it, and like, you know, it's just like like I remember the times where there was so little of anything, and like, you know, so the fact that there's so much now that you can't even keep up with it is awesome in my opinion. So
I agree with you. I think it's fun to connect the dots at this point, you know. It's fun sitting there with my wife who knows nothing, and like she's just like lightsabers, you know. You know? But it's sitting there, I'm like, oh my god, it's Plagueis. You don't understand the rule of two, you know, this, and she's just like, Rey. You know, like I like Rey. So it's really fun, you know, especially with the last movie, and I'm just like, they said this wasn't, but it's here. There's Revan. What is going on? You know, so but only like us fans are gonna like be excited about that. And someone like her, she's just gonna be like, this is a cool fight scene. And that's okay. You know, it's okay. And but that's something that I had to break myself from, because I was like the ultra fan, you know, just like, yes, that's not right, but that's right. But now I'm just like, we all win. It's win-win across the board.
Oh, totally. And it is so fun when they like drop those little, like, you know, references to other, like, you know, like watching, I loved watching Bad Batch. And as soon as like I saw Depa Billaba, I was like, that's Kane. Oh, that's Kane. You know, like I was like, it's just like, so there's so many like really cool things, and you know, I love it.
You know what, Mark? I think it would be really cool. I know I don't even understand it. TikTok and stuff like that. Those moments, I think it would be so cool to have you capture those moments and put up
a reaction of him. Yeah, that would be amazing.
Behind, you know, blah blah. You know, it's just so cool. Before you go, because gosh, this is like the fastest hour I've ever seen in my life.
Seriously.
If you had to give anybody advice right now that wants to get into do things that you do, what would be the major advice you would give them?
I think what I would say is to remember, we were talking earlier about voice acting, and you were talking about how at first you were kind of focused on like the voices that you could do, which is definitely a huge part of it. And that's definitely a skill to acquire. But the other half of that airplane wing is there's voice and there's acting, you know, and it's good to have the voices, but you need to have the acting as well. So like I would encourage people that want to do this to take improv classes, acting classes, you know, maybe like I had a great class in college about text analysis and like how to like read a play and
Oh,
really
wow.
understand, and that served me as a performer now, because I feel like it helped me understand how to really understand things that the author might be saying and foreshadowing or characters or even, settings and things like that. So I think as much as you can strengthen your acting muscles, that will help your voice acting.
Yes.
So like definitely work on voices and character voices and things like that. But like the ability to read a script and interpret it and get the author's intentions out and express them emotionally is just as, if not more important. So like I would focus on that as well.
Wow.
Excellent advice. What he says is true. A sentence has a lot in it. The comma means a whole lot. Like you can get a whole emotion out of one sentence. I can't tell you. I was reading this thing for a commercial, and my acting coach at the time, he was like, "Don't give me this, and then give me this." Especially for ads.
Yeah.
Don't give me that, or the California crinkle is what they call one of the, like. So it's interesting how that works. Yeah, dude. There's so much in voice acting. I had no idea. I thought I was a great actor until I went into voice acting and like read. The one thing they told me is like read every day out loud and like give it like at least an hour a day
advice.
Of doing something out loud. And the amount of times that I stumble.
Oh yeah.
Words are hard.
But now I have Mark here to keep me going. Oh my goodness, Matt! Any closing questions for Mark?
Oh my God, I literally have. There's like 3 big ones in the top of my brain, and I feel like one has already been asked, so I'm gonna put that one to the side, and it's Thrawn related. You're a family man. You know what? You have kids. This hits home with me and probably many others as well.
Oh, that's good.
When you got into I didn't catch, I'm sorry, how old your kids were. I know mine was 3 and 7 months, almost 3 and almost 7 months. How old were they, if you don't mind asking?
Were they or are they?
Are they? Excuse me.
Oh, they're 16 and 18 now. So
how, like, when did it hit them? Like did it hit them? Oh my God, my dad does this. Is it still now, or like? Actually, perfect example. You always see it, right? It's like a 10-year-old, and now it's like a 6-year-old. Whatever. Yeah, he's this guy. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
Like, how is it? Like, are you the? Oh my God, this is awesome. Still,
dude, I would be like, my dad's Ron.
Right. So I kept missing my window with them because when they were really young, I was doing like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and G.I. Joe and all of these really cool cartoons, but they were into like, Bubble Guppies and like, the Wiggles and all this stuff. And then when they got older, where they would have been in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle window, I started doing like real little kiddie shows, and they were not into the little kiddie shows I was doing. And then they just kind of moved, so like like now they, like right now I'm doing this interview and he's kicked out of his room. So they're like aware of it. And I think I did like, Marvel is more what Star Wars is for me, Marvel is for them. And I did get to do an audiobook for an adaptation for the Infinity War. I think that one was like where they're like, wait, what? Whoa, so like, but the other stuff I've done, it's always kind of missed what they're interested in at the time. So
timing.
They kind of, I think they sort of know, but their friends are more into it than they are. Like they were like, "What? Your dad's on Pokemon? What?" And they're like, "Yeah." So,
sick.
Do they want to do what you do, or are they completely separate? They're okay.
And I tried. I was like, "Hey, do you want to like audition for the school play? Like, it'd be really fun. I can help you out." Like, no, I want to do engineering.
Come on,
your dad and them would have been like, "I'm like, yeah."
That's exactly what it is. It's like both of them want to be engineers, and they talk with my dad and my wife's dad about.
Oh my goodness, what a story!
Yeah,
that's
Mark,
amazing.
It has been an absolute blast having you here. We understand that time is the essence of you, and you probably gotta get back to, I don't know, creating more voices and stuff. Before you go, where can people find you and your work and anything about you?
Yeah. I have a website, markthompson.net, and it's Mark with a C. I'm Captain Ehud on Twitter and Instagram, and then I'm myself on Facebook, Mark Thompson. So
yeah, Facebook.
Captain Ehud.
Could you say? Is anything that's out now recently that you could tell people to go take a listen to or see or anything?
Yeah. So I believe it's either 1 week or 2 weeks, but in the next couple weeks, Thrawn Ascendancy Lesser Evil comes out.
Oh, okay.
It's the final installment of the latest Thrawn trilogy, and it is epic. It's like massive. It's like 550 pages long.
Oh my God.
It's
I've been waiting for this for so long because the ending of the last book was like, this is it. Like I listened to everything, and I was like, you're not giving me anything. I love this part, Mark.
He's really Tim Zahn like really outdid himself, and it was pretty epic. So that one's coming out in the next couple of weeks. We're about to record. I'm going to record next week the third adult High Republic Del Rey novel, Fallen Star. So that'll be coming out, I believe, in January. And then there's a cool cartoon on Netflix right now called Karma's World that if you have kids, it'd be great to check out. It's a really, really great show. It's really sweet. So.
Oh, well, we can't hold them any longer, audience. That's all we get. Maybe we can have him back on the show again if we we coax him up a little bit. Like,
no, it's very fun.
Yes, thank you so very much. And this has been Comics with Technique and Matt and now Mark. This is a recording as well, guys, but make sure you do have your questions and stuff ready. Maybe we can relay them to Mark and maybe he'll answer them. Who knows, So thank you so very much, Mark. It has been an absolute pleasure having you here with us tonight. Thank you for taking the time, and tell your children thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I will be checking out Thrawn. Oh God, I cannot even wait. I can't even talk about it, but make sure you guys go see those Audible books. Anything with Marc Thompson on it, because let me tell you, they're in for a treat. He does all the voices confirmed here live on Comics. Thank you again, Matt. Closing comments?
Thank you very much, Mark. Sincerely appreciate it. I can't wait to get into these. And I'm not going to go to the last one. I'm going to start with the first one and then go through with the Thrawn series. I promise. Right hand up. Boy
we
Scouts
can talk about it all day.
Yeah. And I mean, based on timing, seriously, I know timing, we're all in the same place. Thank you for spending time with us here today. And obviously with Star Wars and Scotch with Kevin and Tim, and for us here at Rare Drop. But I'm probably just going to say enjoy dinner based on timing, maybe.
Yeah.
So,
we're all in the East Coast. So that's great.
No, seriously, thank you. And everyone at home, thank you for listening. We'll see you in 2 weeks, depending on when you listen to this, here on the Comics. Bye.
Bye, guys.